The Ontario government unveils its back-to-school plan. Lakehead school boards offer reaction to the measures. And the Prime Minister testifies before the Finance Committee. Good evening and thank you for joining us. There's now a plan in place to send Ontario students back to the classroom. The Ford government outlined the rules and regulations this afternoon. Elementary students and many high schoolers will head back to school full-time in September. Those in grade 4 and above will be required to wear masks, as will teachers and staff. Colin DeMello has the full details.
Months after COVID-19 shut down Ontario's classrooms, students are set to return to a much different environment.
We are in a world now where we have COVID-19, and it's not going away at this point.
Even before the school bell rings, health and safety will be top of mind. While there won't be any temperature checks at the school, staff and students will have to self-screen for COVID-19 every single day.
That if there's any symptoms at all related to COVID-19, to ensure that they stay home.
For elementary students, the school year will look as normal as possible.
5 days a week, 5 hours of instruction a day, with lunch and breaks in between.
Elementary schools will not have any additional limits on class sizes. Students will be in cohorts with a single teacher and will recess and lunch together. Classroom desks will be spaced out as much as possible, with students facing in the same direction. High school students will have an entirely different experience. Designated school boards will begin with a hybrid model this September, 50% online, 50% in class, and the maximum class size will be 15 students. The plan will affect 24 of the largest school boards in this province, including the public and Catholic school boards in Toronto, Peel, York, Durham, Halton, Waterloo, and Ottawa.
We will continue to respect the choice and the authority of parents, the choice of determining when and if they feel comfortable with their child re-entering school during the year.
Masks will also be part of the new normal. Students from grade 4 to 12 will be required to wear a mask during class, in hallways, and in all common spaces. Students in grade 3 and below will be encouraged but not required to wear a mask, while medical masks and face shields will be provided to teachers.
We'll have to have the nurses train the staff and the children as much as possible on how to take off a mask properly, how to store it, how to put it back on.
The government is setting aside $300 million for a school reopening fund. But the plan is being criticized by some who say returning students to full classrooms in the middle of a pandemic is downright dangerous.
And I'm very concerned that we're basically sending our children out there into some kind of risky experiment.
The government says a full return to school is necessary for a student's mental health.
The heads of Thunder Bay's two main school boards say they're pleased with today's announcement from the province. Although it's still unknown how much of the money will come to this region, they say staff are just excited to get back in the classroom. Avery McRae reports.
Local school board directors of education couldn't be happier with the Premier's announcement that students will be returning to school in the fall. Both elementary and high school students in Thunder Bay are expected to be in class 5 days a week with 5 hours of instruction a day. Directors of Education Ian McRae of Lakehead Public Schools and Pino Tassoni of Thunder Bay Catholic say this is the news they've been waiting for.
We were thrilled. I'm sure our students and parents will be as well. Back to conventional times is going to be welcomed by everyone, I think. And we firmly believe that the best place for students is in school with a teacher in front of them on a regular basis and being able to access the different supports that we provide.
Extremely pleased that our students are going to be able to come back face to face. We know that that's where the best learning takes place, and it's obviously best for their mental health and well-being as well.
The one rule that caught the eyes of many is the mandatory mask rule for grades 4 through 12. Both education directors agree with the mandate and don't expect students to have issues with the rule, as masks are already mandatory in the city. With a plan in place, the boards are shifting their focus to timetables, staffing levels, and safe transportation for students. With just over a month to prep for the students' return, Tassone knows it'll take a team effort.
We'll be tight, and there'll be a lot of stress and a lot of demands on our senior team, and we also have to bring in our administration to prepare. We only have 5 weeks. School actually begins on August 31st for our staff, but we believe through hard work, and we've been working throughout the summer, that we'll be able to get it done.
It'll be interesting to see how this actually rolls out in terms of the financial situation. We heard the broad strokes today, but the devil is in the details, and we're certainly hoping that we'll be funded adequately to put in these enhanced protocols around health and safety.
In regards to the provincial government's plans to hire 500 public health nurses and over 900 extra custodians, it is still not sure what will be allocated for Thunder Bay. The boards expect to have a better idea of how the money will be dispersed by Tuesday. Avery McRae, TBT News.
Thunder Bay City Council has endorsed an estimated $65 million plan to clean up contaminated sediment in the North Harbour. The mercury and wood pulp contamination was first discovered more than 30 years ago at the site of the former Cascades Fine Papers mill. A Thunder Bay North Harbour working group led by senior levels of government and the Thunder Bay Port Authority has been studying ways to remediate 390,000 cubic meters of mercury and wood pulp contaminated sediment in the North Harbour for years. On Monday, City Council endorsed a plan to construct a new confined disposal facility at the contamination site just off the existing shoreline. About 9 hectares of open water would be filled in. The area would be dredged and the contaminated material contained within the facility. It would then be capped with about 8,000 truckloads of clean fill. This was identified as the preferred option by the public out of 3 that were presented, mainly because the contaminated material doesn't have to be transported off-site. It's also $5 to $15 million cheaper than the other plans. Mayor Bill Morrow was the only one on council to vote against the recommendation, citing concerns about the material being stored so close to the water. But Roger Santiago, who heads up Environment Canada's sediment remediation unit, insists plenty of good engineering work has gone into ensuring that it's a safe approach. The final decision will be made by the North Harbour Working Group's Senior Management Committee, made up of representatives from federal, provincial, and local agencies. The work isn't expected to get underway until 2024. It's still unclear how the estimated $65 million tab will be divvied up. Surgeries continue to ramp up at the Regional Health Sciences Centre. Officials hope to be back up to full capacity by the fall. The hospital has conducted essential surgeries throughout the pandemic, but elective and non-urgent procedures only began to slowly return back in May. Corey Nordstrom has more.
The COVID-19 situation caused surgery capacity at Thunder Bay's regional hospital to dip to just 30% at the height of the pandemic. Now that number is up to 70%. Dr. Peter Voros is the Executive Vice President of Inpatient Care. He says they are putting in the extra effort to eat away at the long surgical wait times.
As we're ramping up to that 100%, the goal hopefully is to get us above that 110, 115, maybe even 120 by doing surgeries later into the evening and on the weekends as well, when we have staff and physicians available to be able to do it.
Voros expects the hospital's surgery capacity to reach 100% by early fall, but wait times remain higher than normal for the time being. Before the pandemic, surgeries usually took over 6 months to be completed.
Right now, we're probably at about 7 or 8 months, but that's really with us anticipating that there are surgeries out there that we don't know need to happen yet. Because physicians' offices weren't functioning fully during pandemic, we believe there are referrals out there that are coming that we don't have yet. So with those coming, that 7 to 8 months wait could be a 12 to 18 months wait.
And the hospital is getting creative in order to cut wait times, looking at more overnight stays to free up beds where possible, and the creation of a space designated for short stays. They also will utilize some of their regional supports where possible.
Our regional orthopedics program has 4 surgical sites in Fort Frances, Kenora, Dryden, and Thunder Bay. Their operating rooms are not quite as busy as ours, so we are moving a larger portion of our orthopedic surgeries into the region in order to try to help clear that backlog and leave extra space here for other surgeries.
Corey Nordstrom, TBT News.
Thunder Bay Police have arrested another person for child pornography. The Cybercrimes Unit began the investigation on May 27th after being made aware that a local internet user was suspected of uploading child pornography. That led to the execution of a search warrant today at a residence in the 400 block of Brock Street East. Officers confiscated several devices at the home. 49-year-old Norman Douglas Dix has been charged with accessing, possessing, and making available child pornography. He appeared in bail court today and was released with conditions until his next court date in mid-October. Police in Dryden are investigating a serious assault that took place on Tuesday. Officers responded to a 911 call where it was reported that an elderly person had sustained injuries from two other people in their home. One suspect has been arrested and the other is currently at large. Charges have already been laid, but no details about those charges have been released. The victim remains in hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. Confederation College is offering some added assurance for students in order to make them more comfortable attending the post-secondary institution this fall. The college is allowing incoming students to test the water for a much longer time period to see if their college program is right for them, given the COVID-19 restrictions. They'll be allowed to attend classes commitment-free for a full month, having until October 7th to receive a full tuition refund if they opt out. Students previously had about 10 days to make that decision. School President Kathleen Lynch hopes students will appreciate the new learning models and that they'll choose to continue on.
If you're thinking of postponing your education, what would you be doing otherwise? There's not a lot going on, so you might as well come to school, get an education, and this way it gives you a little more time to decide if this is the right environment for you.
I understand that most of our students are probably confused and hesitant to take that first step, and I think it really gives them an opportunity to take that first step and towards their educational experience.
Lynch says they still have room in many programs. She expects this new flexibility will give those who are on the fence about enrolling reason to give the school a chance this year. The major roadwork project at Balmoral Street in the Harbour Expressway is way ahead of schedule. Most of the lanes have recently reopened, and work at the intersection will likely be completely finished by the end of August. It was originally scheduled to be closed until the end of September, but the contractor working on the project is a month ahead of schedule. City project engineer Mike Vogrig says most of the work is complete and city officials are very happy with the contractor's timeline.
The contractor is looking at finishing the traffic signal work for the intersection. They have top lift of paving to do and then painting. So we expect we'll be doing the top lift of paving likely third week of August. And then after that, the road should be functionally open. There'll just be some minor inconveniences and closures to finish up the painting and finish the work in the islands, things like that. But you got to give credit to the contractor, Nadine Contractor. Their contracting was in place and they put lots of effort forward.
The project is the second of a 4-phase plan to add storm sewers, sidewalks, and improve the road on Balmoral. The remaining 2 phases are planned for the coming years. This phase of the project will cost the city $5.4 million. 4 Thunder Bay residents are a step closer to celebrating a big lottery win. Sandy Thomas, Gary Linger, Lawrence Fletcher, and Ryan Mazurski are the co-owners of a $1 million winning ticket from the April 1st 649 draw. But because Linger's daughter works at an OLG retailer, the claimants have to go through a 2-step process before they can receive their prize. The lucky ticket was purchased at South Nebing Variety on Highway 61. A teenage singer from Atikokan is on the cusp of stardom. 16-year-old Alex Sampson has been showcasing his music on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. One of his videos, filmed right in Atikokan, already has 4 million views, and he's just inked a deal with one of the largest music publishers in the world. Adam Riley has the story.
You have me wrapped up around your finger.
Move over Shawn Mendes and beat it Justin Bieber. There is a new voice in Canadian music, and he hails from the Northwest. Atikokan's Alex Sampson is on his way to music stardom after first getting his start in a school talent show in grade 5. Over time, Alex honed his performing and lyrical talent And after posting some videos online, an offer came in from a producer in the U.S.
David asked if we wanted to fly out to LA, maybe record some songs and do a photo shoot. And I said, yeah, let's do it. So we flew out to LA in August of last year, recorded a few songs. All That We Could Have Been was actually one of my first songs I recorded. And yeah, we ended up signing a little bit of a deal. After I came home, David said, hey, we have this guy. We'd love to film videos in your town, because David came down, he loved how it looked around here, and he thought, well, what better to start your career with video where you're from.
One of those videos is also one of his biggest hits, as All That We Could Have Been has garnered close to 4 million views on YouTube.
You gave me love that I could never feel before.
But now Alex is signed on with Sony ATV, the largest music publishing company in the world, which is helping him grow as a songwriter, arranging recording sessions, and promoting his music. The 16-year-old admits he is still getting used to this level of stardom and recounts one interaction with a fan at a Toronto hotel.
There's this guy sitting in the hallway, and I'm like, oh, that's a little weird. So I'm on my phone. He's like sitting right outside my door. So I don't know if that's like connected or not, if he knew what room I was in. But anyway, he stood up, and I'm on my phone looking, and all I hear is like, Alex? So I look up, and I'm like, me? And he's like, yo, I love you. And I was like, I love you more. And then I gave him like one of like this, whatever you call that. And then he said, can I have a picture? So we took a picture. He's great. We talked a bit. And yeah, it was really cool.
One thing that Alex says is definitely not slowing him down is COVID-19. And despite being used to in-person writing sessions, he has adapted to collaborating over Zoom and is looking forward to performing those songs.
And I've been going in with writers, new writers, old writers, and I've just been writing songs like day after day after day. And some of the songs that I've written in quarantine have actually been some of my favorites I've done so far.
But Alex says he isn't stopping with just writing and performing music. He hopes to grow his skill set into the technical aspect of musical production and is even open to trying his hand at acting. But until then, he's going to keep his music, like his life, upbeat. Adam Riley, TBT News.
Well, he certainly seems to